before we get started today, I'll give a brief kind of introduction. Of course, you'll recognise I'm Graeme. I work for Amicus. I recruit for software engineers all across Germany alongside my wonderful team. I'm joined today by Daniel, Dragan, and Vad, and we're essentially discussing the topic of kind of professionalism, leadership, and kind of responsibility. So of course, that's got kind of a few points to it. The first point that we're really going to discuss is kind of establishing who should be in kind of certain meetings. I'm sure you guys, same as myself, sometimes your diary can be filled with meetings, be it essential or not. So it's always valuable to establish whether or not the right individuals are in each meeting. So the first question I've really got, I suppose, I'll start with you, Daniel, here, if that's all right, but obviously I'll kind of pass around the group. How is it we can kind of clearly define the roles and responsibilities of team members and who should be saying what in each meeting and who should actually be involved?
Great question, Graeme. From my experience, because this is a very challenging topic, considering from, let's say, from developer point of view to a leadership point of view, I think this needs to come from top to bottom, exactly to clarify and to give autonomy to the team members, to be able to speak their voice and say, like, this is not a meeting, like I have nothing to add on this one, and so on. So this is like in my vision, this needs to be everyone kind of like a brainstorming in a team or in the company, and needs to come from top to bottom.
Okay. So you feel like maybe meeting attendees should be maybe limited to those directly involved, perhaps?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or when this is just adding, of course, everyone can always bring some insights, even when the topic's not exactly related to them. But at the same time, we need to make the meetings meaningful and save the developers team time. Because sometimes we are saying like, why we are not going fast enough? And when we are seeing the meetings in the week, we see like, oh, there's lots of meetings here that should not be involving everyone.
Okay, I suppose then that kind of brings up the question around sort of cross-functional kind of participation. I know myself, at least, I benefit from being in meetings that maybe aren't strictly relevant to my role, having that kind of wider context. Yes, so I'm keen. I suppose it's a balancing act, really, really bad. What would your opinion be on kind of being in meetings that maybe aren't strictly relevant to kind of your job role?
Yeah, you see, as a manager, you probably need to be optional in some meetings because that might open up your perspective, which you didn't see before. But what I like normally to do, you usually have people who can influence the decision or outcome of the meeting, or you have a person who has a stake in it. Let's say a stakeholder from the product side, stakeholder from the sales, from the business, maybe senior leader. And that's how would I define the people who needs to go to the meeting. I would still open it up for optional attendees, and depending on the matter of the meeting, then it would be, let's say, if it's a performance review, that could be other senior leaders or maybe your peer managers or senior managers. If it's an internal team conversation, that would be all team. Maybe, let's say, if you discuss a backend matter, client's engineer also should attend as optional people because it's nice to for them to understand what is the complications on the backend. So maybe they can find out and fine-tune the solution on the client, on the front end, to simplify it for the backend if possible. So that's what I think. Sometimes optional attendees is good, but you still need to keep it optional because if too many people, then there is no productive discussion. So most of the people would be silent most of the time. And the people who are more extroverted, like most of us, I would guess, because otherwise we would not be here. We would be talking and talking and talking. So you also need to know how to measure your chunk of time within the meeting. So that would be a couple of rules I would follow up in terms of who should be in the meeting. Because that's, yes, top to bottom is nice. If you have some kind of all hands, if you have some kind of performance reviews, which is mandatory for everyone to attend. But if it's like internal meeting, let's say within the tribe or department, it would be nice to have a lot of optional people because that might be information you are missing, which you could not take from another places. That would be more or less my take on this one. It's still complicated, right? Because you will miss something. People will complain that why you didn't invite them. That's inevitable. But you can try to decrease the amount of these frictions as less as possible, ideally.
Right, I see. Okay, so kind of, taking on a case by case, I suppose. Dragan, what would your view be there? Do you concur?
So for me, I try to most of the time rely on agenda, right? Then I will decide, right, who should be in the meeting, because I will try to structure my meeting and see what we want to discuss. And then I will bring like the most relevant people to that topic, right? So because you have a different kind of meetings, right? For instance, let's think about decision-making meeting, right? Then you know what you want to put inside of it and what kind of people you need to have on the meeting. So as Vlad already mentioned, in that kind of meeting, you need to have someone who can make a decision and who can decide we will go in this or that direction. Or if they do research, then you need this or that kind of people, right? Then also you don't need someone from authority, so that's also a lot of saving time for them, right? And I would also agree with Vlad on the top to bottom. It doesn't need to be top to bottom, because I also encourage people, especially, again, it depends on what kind of company you are these days. If you are remote first company, right, then communication is everything. And I also encouraging them to create a meeting, even if they are like developers. Also to avoid miscommunication, misunderstanding, and it's better to call each other, or if they cannot decide, to create a meeting and to call relevant people to it. Also, it's not a problem also to leave the meeting or to call in someone who is also over the discussion you figure out. I do that very often. So I start discussing with Vlad. And then I figure out we cannot solve it. I call Daniel. And then we figure out that Daniel brought us something, but it's still not what we are looking for. Then I will tell, hey, Daniel, okay, thank you for that one. We will call Graeme, right? And that's how it goes. So I don't know how it will end up. I know where I will start. So that's for me very useful meeting, I would say. That's from my side, right?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Daniel. I can see you're raising your hand there.
Just a quick comment, Dragan. When I say about the top to bottom in terms of what is the expected behavior from everyone. So, for example, are our managers ready to hear a no from a team member? When this no needs to be when should we raise our hands and say no, I have nothing to do with this meeting, for example. This is what I mean in terms of definition, because I completely agree with you. Communication is the most important part in team working. Doesn't matter the departments of the company and so on. Communication is the key, and defining, and this is the part that I try to explain with from top to bottom, is the definition. For example, when I'm building teams, I specifically instruct the team members to say decline a meeting if you don't see your relevance there. And I am kind of I'm putting myself as open to hear someone telling me no, this meeting had nothing to do with me. Sorry, mate. I'm in a focus tunnel here, blah blah blah. But sometimes we are our managers, our team leaders, or product owners, for example, they are not ready to listen, or they are not trained for listening and all. I see many times in the past, for example, from product or other areas, when they have a problem, they gather all the team. And then by the end of the sprint, they complain the team is not productive. So this is a little bit what I try to avoid when assembling meetings, is that we first defining our team rules.
Okay, brilliant. And Vad, I can see you're raising your hand also.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on Daniel and Dragan together, because you kind of mentioned how to decline the meeting, either before the meeting happens or during the meeting. I'm curious what you usually do within the team to teach your engineers to actually highlight that they don't want to be part of the meeting. Because what I see in reality, if the person is introverted, usually they have really big troubles, especially when the meeting is started, to actually decline and leave instead of switch off the camera, switch off the mic, and silently wait until the meeting is done, right? So how would you separate both of these scenarios? Like the person didn't come or the person come and switch off everything. So how you figure out if person should leave, or train them how to leave or decline politely, right? Because sometimes there is, let's say, a meeting of the team, let's say 10 people, and then one person is left without writing anything. And you see, let's say, in the Zoom that, let's say, Vad left the room. and then you have no idea, is it the connection issue, if the person doesn't like the meeting or doesn't think they can provide any value? So how would you go there? Because usually I explain the team members, if we have internal team meetings and you have nothing to say, please don't switch off the camera and mute. Please write down the message in the chat or raise a hand, say that you need to go because you cannot provide any value and leave, right? But I rarely see that in general, right? So that's why I'm curious. So the question would be, how would you handle this kind of mentoring of sort?
Daniel, do you want to go first? Or?
Go for it, Dragan.
Okay. It's a good question, but the answer cannot be simple to say or one, right? It depends, like always it depends, right? So first it's culture in the company, right? And then the second question, it's like how big the team is, right? So that's also most important stuff. If you have meeting with 20 people, of course you cannot monitor all of them, and most of them, they will turn off cameras. So that will not work. Like Elon Musk has that 6 rules for meetings, and one of them, it's avoid large meetings. So I will never put large, if it's not company meeting. So company meeting has different purposes I mentioned, and then even if they turn off camera, they will figure out sooner or later with some PowerPoint presentation what happened, right? But if it's important meeting, like then put like small group of people there. But before of that, as I said, if you have that people who doesn't want to turn on camera, I would say, to be honest, these days it's very rude, right? So it's culture. And then you teach them much before of that. So you go one-on-one then and try to turn on camera and to talk with them. Then when they connected to you, then they will put another guy and another guy. So it's a process for that kind of people. Because most of people, like, they are super good programmers. Right? That's interesting. Like better programmer, like problems, I would say, with soft skills. Or as you said, like introvert, right? And then you need to work with him. Like you need to give him, like, to be connected, you need to trust you. Right, because that's the problem. So it's more like different way of thinking, more psychological way, like how you will approach to them. And then you are putting him in larger and larger groups. So that's, I said, it depends. Like, what do you want to do? Of the size of the meeting, of the people, of the type of meeting, and you need to work with that people one-on-one, right? And then that's the first part, as you asked. Like the second part, what I would do, right? The second part, it's like who should you do, like should you left the meeting before or the after? If you are doing that before, I ask for them to write me the response. Why they think they should not be on the meeting, right? Maybe I put wrong agenda. Maybe the title is not good. Maybe he didn't understand very well. And then I can go back and tell him, hey, I mess up this one. You should be in this meeting because this is what you said. It was wrong communication. Or, yeah, that's right. You're totally fine. You should not be on the meeting. And then you have second, right? When they are on the meeting, how they would leave. Because again, you can think, hey, it's a rude, right? But it's not. And then you can do lead by example. You can take your like seniors or technical leads or yourself and say, hey, I think this is not meeting for me. Like, can you do it without me? I will leave here, right? Just continue. I have full trust in you guys. Do it. And only what I'm asking from them is summary. To send me outcome of the meeting with some email, or these days you can use some AI power, right? That they will write down your meeting notes. So that's basically like a little bit more complicated answer, but I hope that you got the idea. It depends what you want to do, and it's a process. And long story short, it's everything about culture. Regarding meetings, people always underestimating that meeting is also about culture. That's how I see it.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Lots to unpack there, to be fair. I really like your kind of personable kind of approach to things, or kind of viewpoint, kind of leading from a kind of one-to-one perspective. I liked that point you made there. And just going back over to Daniel here, the question was obviously posed to both of you. I'd be really keen to hear your kind of viewpoint.
I agree with you, Dragan, and also very good question, Vad. It's a cultural thing, and this is what I meant by from top to bottom, is that we define kind of like the common rules, or agreements. What I usually encourage people to do, because for what you mentioned, for example, Vad, that sometimes we have a team member that is very intro and he won't speak, he's there muting, turning off camera, and so on. So basically, what I usually recommend is a strong meeting definition, meaningful title, meaningful description, and meaningful agenda. If I don't understand my presence in some specific meeting, I should ask the question before the meeting. And in the moment I join it, I must be present. So it's because many people, I don't see a problem if somebody raise their hand and say, hey, should I be here, and so on. Like, this is my understanding. Like, it's completely fine if someone goes, just ping a message and so on. But some people might feel this a little bit disrespectful. And to avoid drama, I usually recommend speak your mind before. Message the organizer of the meeting. Do you see there is something related or something that I'm missing here? I don't see the relevance of my presence. It's okay if I deny my presence, for example, and then we are solving this in a very kind of like one-on-one situation. And the other thing that I also encourage everyone to do is the one-on-ones, because usually and during the one-on-ones, those type of problems should appear. For example, a manager should raise their hand and say, yeah, you know, I have a team member, he's not, he always denies my meetings and so on. I would like him to be closer, or him or she. Or the opposite. Oh, you know, like there is this person, he's always inviting me and I feel a little bit ashamed of saying no. So this is basically the communication topic. And summarizing my response to you, Vad, basically deny the meeting before or question the presence before the meeting starts. And if the meeting starts, I usually encourage everyone to be present. Camera on, mic off, just because of the echo.
Okay, perfect. And back over to you, Dragan. I can see you're raising your hand currently.
Yeah, exactly. So 2 more things what I would also to mention, what's for me, like put the rules. Like first rule, it's like for me, no agenda, feel free to reject. Like I teach always them that just reject immediately, because that meeting probably will not go in the right direction, right? It's just experience, right? And then like stick with that rules, because that's more or less, I would say, practicing. Like they will practice, they will develop good habits, and you will not have any more problems with them, right? And then on that second thing, what I want to mention, like for that kind of people, what you ask, also start, you should start to talk and say, like in instance, hey, yesterday I spoke with Vlad, and Vlad really had a great ideas, and we can solve it, this one on that one. Can you, Vlad, more explain about that idea what we had yesterday? And then Vlad will be super happy that already everything is prepared for him, and he will just continue to say, hey, thank you, Dragan. Yeah, we asked you to talk, and he will not be all aware that he started to talk. And then he will get used to that one. So you don't need to call his name anymore. Like maybe something like that, try with him, just to start conversation, like instead of him. Maybe he has only problem, at least I encounter most of the time they have problem to start the conversation. Later on they talk. Right? That's from my side, maybe 2 more things to add.
Fair enough. I just want to piggyback on both Daniel and Dragan. I was having a mental gymnastics in my mind right now, and I was thinking, what about the corner case when either you don't have agenda ever in all of the meetings. I know it's a cultural thing, obviously, but let's say your team, senior leader, your manager, their manager, they all have no agendas ever, right? Maximum what you have a vague title. So if you're gonna continue skipping and denying them, you will reach a threshold when you would be perceived like a constant denier. So how would you approach this problem in an actual company setup, right? Because if your manager decides your fate, so you should have some kind of honest conversation with the manager. And on top of that, let's say you're new in the company. So how would you approach that? So how would you deliver the feedback about denying meeting culture or a lack of meeting agenda to your superior?
Man, this is an amazing question. Sharing from my experience, currently I'm CTO. Sharing from my experience from bottom to top. The first time I start facing those challenge, and I start denying, I became a problem. So this is something that I don't recommend anyone to do. So if you are, for example, if you are watching and you are, let's say, a developer, a trainee, or a team lead, and you have this problem in your company, raise your hand. Establish the rules, especially from your team. Everyone's deciding, and you build the ground from your team. So when I reach team lead, I start agreeing with this with our team members, and then asking and telling them like, look, I'm you guys lead, so let's agree in our rules, and I fight like above of my level, so everyone can follow something like this. And then conversation, communication again with peers, with my managers, and so on. Gradually, I start changing some of the cultural problems that I was facing in some other companies. So basically giving them understanding, like, look, you see that our performance is improving because we are following some guidelines. Also presenting to some managers the use cases or success cases from other companies, so they can feel or see the good results. When I reached some level, let's say head of engineer at the time, it was easier. Then it was kind of like, hey guys, this is, let's say, let's agree on this rule here. I know you guys have your methodology and so on, but it's important that we agree on some type of working and so on. Right now, when I'm like, when the CEO of the company send me an invitation only with the title, even when I know the title is enough, I message him saying, yeah, in 30 minutes, I make it as a kind of like a gamification. I try to be as light as possible. In 30 minutes, I will deny your meeting is like, it's lacking the description, is lacking the agenda. And this start becoming some sort of exercise, and at the same time, a fun event. When I did just a kind of like a testing, he did exactly the same. Hey man, it's my time. I will deny the meeting because . So basically, this is why I encourage always from top to bottom that we kind of like a change or set the culture and set the values. Also, when I'm joining a new team, for example, I usually review the values of the team and try to encourage them to have this as our team value. No description, deny on site. This is how I introduce to the teams. Like, look, doesn't matter who is providing you the invitation. Deny on site meetings without description.
That sounds really nice. I just had a couple of questions, but I don't want to dig too long because we will gonna stay here for 5 hours. But that's a valid suggestion. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay, fantastic. I suppose then kind of setting clear boundaries is obviously, it increases the transparency of the meetings, I suppose, to ensure. Yeah, exactly. Okay, brilliant. The one thing I was wondering, you mentioned, of course, it kind of became easier for you when you reached kind of head of engineering. I was wondering, maybe focusing, if any junior engineers are watching, for example, what kind of feedback channels or feedback loops could you guys recommend, for example, maybe improve the kind of confidence of junior engineers to reject a meeting, for example? What would be the kind of feedback loops that you would suggest within these kind of remote teams? Yeah, sure, Vad. Over to you.
I think Daniel wanted to say something.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So the point is, what I train and do myself is doing a regular skip level. I usually have sometimes question which skip level is good enough, because you can skip for a long time if you have a bureaucratic ladder consist of like I don't know, tech lead, manager, senior manager, director, senior director, VP, SVP, CTO, right? So it can be kind of a big ladder, but I train to go skip level to talk to, let's say, my manager or the manager of my manager, because it's a really revelation experience for junior and middle engineers to understand that there are people. It's not a magic creature who do magic strategical things. It's still people behind all of this career ladder. And usually that helps a lot, because they lose the fear. Because I remember I had this fear when I was a junior. Like talking to senior was already stressful enough, not talking about the manager or director or CTO, right? It's not always possible, but if it's possible, I would like to advise my teammates to do that.
Very good point, Vad. I encourage the same flat hierarchy, so everyone feel it's basically the jargons of nowadays, like empower, build the trust, and have transparency, as you guys mentioned. In one other aspect that I always consider is that I am not bypassing anyone's authority. So, for example, if a team leader or a manager, for example, has his own way of working, and someone comes to me and asks for, like, oh, you know, I don't feel comfortable denying a meeting, I won't tell him what to do in terms of like, no, you can deny, I support you, and so on. It's like, no, I'm bypassing someone's authority there. So basically what I encourage is like, have a conversation with your manager, with your, no, but you know, I'm just a junior developer, I'm a trainee. It's like, no, man, we are everyone in the same boat. We are everyone as important in a team, in a big team, and so on. So what I usually do, I encourage to have one-on-ones with the managers, and the communication with the managers. Oh, you are feeling this problem. Try to have a conversation. And if, let's say, the junior person, the trainee, or the senior developer comes and say, my manager said, yeah, shut up, this is how it is, and blah, blah, blah. Then, okay, I would try to have a conversation with and have the transparency of the flat hierarchy to his superior, I would say.
Perfect. Excellent point, Daniel. Dragan, I'd love to hear your viewpoint on this.
So from my standing point of view, I would also say, like, what's the reason for junior to be in the meeting? Like, well, again, what kind of meeting is that one? Do you want to teach them something? Do you want that they participate to make some decisions? Can they do that one? Do you want, as Daniel said, also to empower them and to try to get best of them and to give them opportunity to talk, even you have, like, I don't know, you doubt that he can, but you want that he can, so you want to push him, and you have, I would say, free time, or you are not under some pressure, and you want to hear his opinion. If you are really like making decision meeting, like, I would not call juniors in that kind of meeting. So, but then the question is how they will learn, like, and then as Daniel mentioned, like, it depends of, like, I would have always mentorship with them. So that's why I think seniors are there. Like, I always put like some kind of team, one senior, two juniors, and they have their own internal meetings and they teach them. And the best way for me to teach junior is code reviews, right? You always do code reviews, a lot of comments there, and then you can go like on a meeting with him. So what I do, I comment everything, and then I call him and explain, like, what's the reason why I commented, and he learns in that way, right? That's how I see with juniors, because there's always the question how they will learn if they are not on the meeting. You have another kind of meetings, right? Or, as I said, if you want that he is there just to present, just to listen, it's also totally fine. It depends on you, right? Most of the time. That's how I see it. No clear rules for juniors.
Excellent. Over to you, Vad. I can see you're raising your hand.
Yeah, thanks, Dragan, for sharing. I had one challenging question, because as an engineering manager, the job description is very vague, because some people are technical leaders, some people are people process managers, some people are architects in this role, right? Code review is a very powerful tool, but what you're gonna do if you have different platforms and some of them you're not expert on? So let's say you have front-end web, native iOS, native Android, and backend, and let's say data science and test automation. And there's kind of considered 6 different platforms with their own rules. Let's put test automation as platform, right? Because it's also separate role function. How would you do the code reviews there? Because the difference between platforms and language specifics and the environments could be so drastic and different, you will not be able to provide a proper code review because you don't know the specifics of a platform, right? Because that's a challenge in itself. I mean, I know what normally you would do. You will find a senior or staff engineer and you will pair up to review your engineer work instead of you, of course. But would you still do the PR even if you don't have if you're not an expert in a specific tool set?
I can start. I would not do. I think that, my opinion, that PRs are very important, and I really like that people are very eligible on very professional or technical who will do that one. And I always like pick, I would say, 2 reviewers to be. One, it's always like who is really into it. That's most of the time senior, as you said, or technical lead or architect. Even architect, I would put him to see is everything goes in the direction where he wants to go, and some other side that guy can choose. So I will always say, hey, this guy goes always, and this guy goes there and learn. Right. And then what I always do to other people also to somehow empower more people to do good code reviews, like because in moment of time you need more of them. So you have 2-3 guys who are really good, the different like areas, but you want to create more of them. So then I tell them, please, we have like on Teams channel code review. And then everyone is putting their code reviews, and you will know, like, is it backend, frontend, is it data? And then if someone say, I left the comments, I encourage everyone to go there and check it, because that's how you can learn, right? So it's only like always one person good, one you need to choose, and everyone should go there and read comments. And then in some time you will have enough of them that everyone can do code review. So beginning it's very hard, but most of people will stay on that level always. Not somehow investing in the future that you speed up that one, you have more like technical people. That's what I would do. So it's a process, right? If that answered your question. Okay. Daniel, your thoughts.
Fantastic. I'd love to hear your opinion, Daniel.
My opinion is like I'm 100% with Dragan on this one. Is have 1-2 specialists to be responsible for approving and merging, let's say, and everyone is encouraged to either take a look or review as well and bring their insights. I don't know how many times I learned from Junior stuff that were approved previously by guys that were even more specialist than anyone else. So everyone can bring value as long as we are not like a kind of like a making the PR eternal.
I see. And back over to Dragan. I can see you're raising your hand currently.
Yes. So one more thing what I forgot, because that's what we said we will tackle, is about responsibility. Like I would pull always one person to be responsible for something because it's very important, but I will encourage other people also to take responsibility in some moment of time when I feel it, they are ready for that. Because I will say, hey, thank you everything what you do, like I will put you in this way to be responsible because I see that you advanced. Right, and then you can do this one. You are like eligible now to do this or that and try it. But of course, I will still monitor. So they will be double in some moment of time, and then later on he can do it on his own. So like we always need to put someone to be responsible. It cannot be like I know Scrum. It's always propagating that one. The team is responsible, right? Everything is about team, but that's super easy to hide behind of team. Like I get that many times you have the team of 10 people. It's super easy to go behind the team and say, hey, it's not my responsibility, the team, and you don't know what happened. So I always like to have one responsible guy who is really good, and then trying to empower more people, like through the mentorship. And then also what I also try to avoid, it's that junior do code review to junior, and that they could do code review in the same team. Also try to avoid that one because they, in some amount of time, that's my bad experience, that time they become really good friends. And then they will just approve it without no looking because this guy will approve him, this guy will approve him. So I will try to have, if you have multiple teams, that you need to pick up the guy from another team, that second person, right? Because you always have technical lead or the above, and pick one person from another team to approve as well, not your teammate. Because they somehow will say, it's good, because they become friends. That's what I do, also to add on this topic.
Excellent. Oh, okay, brilliant. And back to you, Vad. Fantastic questions so far, by the way, Vad. Yes,
yeah, I try to play devil advocates all the time because it stimulates me to be present in the meeting much more. Thanks, Dragan. It's a really nice take. I wanted to ask, you mentioning becoming a friend would be a problem in case of the pull request review. Would you change your organizational structure to avoid having friends within one team and increase the amount of pull review approvers, so that, let's say, in the team you have 2 developers and you need 3 people to PR review, because you kind of functionally restrict one team member to approve each other, because then you would need to push yourself to go out to another team. Did you do something like that? Because normally there is a 4 eyes rule, right? So you have at least 2 people reviewing your PR. But if your team is big and significant enough, you might have 3 people within one platform in your team, right? Would you change the pull request review rules in order to extend it for this specific team to have 4 people, so that they cannot review each other and pass every PR? Because they all can be friends, you know? Developers are chatty.
They can. So don't get me wrong about being friends. They need to be friends, right? That's the team. They need to be friends. Like so, the first thing, I will structure differently teams. So I would never put them out because they are friends. Like that's not the case. Like I will put them out only if they want to go to work on different module, because we push a lot of full stack. So if they want to go to backend, like especially for with JavaScript, and your stack, it's completely JavaScript, like in our company. And then if they want to go in backend, then I will help them to go in backend. So that's the only reason when I can, one of the reasons when I can take out him from one team to another, because he wants to advance or work on a different platform, or he just started to be bored. He wants to try something differently. But because they are become teammates, I would not do that one, right? So then I will always try to do someone else code review. Or again, it depends. We have one team here in this current company. In the previous, it was 8-10. So then they need to do code reviews for themselves. But then I pick more or less to be different person, or to backend to do the front end, or this or that. So you always have and especially if it's a small team, then your tech lead is super important, because he needs to do a lot of work there. Because we are a team of 6 people. So that's mean if I lead them, I can do most of code reviews, right? And my currently job, I would say 50% of my work is doing code reviews, right? And I'm teaching them all the time to be better and better. In some amount of time, after we start to be mature enough, everyone can do code reviews, because they just learn. So that's what I said few minutes ago, lead by example. Show them. When you are ready for that one, give them responsibility. When you see it do, just go do something else. Right? That's how I see. So you need to build your team, and you need time for that one. So again, is it one team? Is it multiple teams? Different rules. Because I don't know the size of your team or company, right?
Oh yeah, by the way, delivery hero, engineering manager, 500 developers. Just the context of the question, right? Hence asking, because on each platform there are 120, 150 people. That's why you have 20, 25 teams, and you have boundaries, and then you have some teams are smaller, some teams are bigger, and the bigger teams usually have a advantage of reviewing each other's PRs, when the smaller teams would need to communicate better and collaborate with other teams to actually be able to review. Hence the question. Yeah, I think the context matters as well, as you mentioned, Dragan. That's why I mentioned it.
Then I think you should have strong VP of engineering to organize that one. That's a big challenge in that size of company, to organize them to work as a one. Probably they work on different projects. I don't know, for us it was 80 programmers worked on the same project, and that's so hard to organize. Right?
Yeah, indeed.
So then I would rely a lot on VP of training organization in that case. And then there is I don't know, is it also remote? Probably some of them remote. Then it's also remote culture, right? And especially I will go with the culture. So just trying to educate them, talk to them. Right. And that's what Daniel said, right? Then he will continue top to bottom. So you need to have strong people there, and just to propagate that one in that size of company, right? Daniel.
And just going back to Vad's original question, I can see that Daniel had his hand raised.
Yes, just adding to Dragan's point and to your question, Vad. setting up the team values is something that I found very beneficial. So not kind of like splitting or preventing the team from being friends. Actually, we want them to be friends. It's nice when the team is compromised together. And the things that I realized about code review is basically it's a kind of like when it's not following the flow, it's basically because there is somebody is too picky, and then we create some sort of alternative path. So like I ask my friend to review and like, oh, can you review this? Okay, it's right, done. So basically I would say that this is a problem in the process, not a problem in the team itself. So reviewing the team value is something that was very beneficial when I faced a situation like this. And at the same time, giving to everyone the importance of like, what is a good code? What is the responsibility that I have when I am approving? Those are the questions that I found very beneficial. That when I am approving, I am not approving the code of my friend. I am approving the code of the team. If something passes during my watch, I am affecting the entire team, not only myself. So, for example, and one thing that I put is like as Dragan mentioned, the lead by example. I review my own code as if someone else wrote the code. And sometimes I really find some this like what I was thinking, or there is a better way of doing this, blah, blah, blah. I encourage everyone to do it. It's like, man, if you see something that is like, let's say, ridiculously cannot pass, do not pass. If you feel that you need to deny on site, there's no problem. And there is another concept that I usually share with the team that I always share with the teams. Mind the person behind the PR. Because I see many times during my career, someone breaking because the PR was not very good, like the code was not very good, and someone went with like the 2 feet, like bam, like boom. It's like, no, man, mind there is a person there. So if you start reviewing a PR and you see there is like, okay, 5, 10, 20 requests, okay, stop, pair programming. Move this elsewhere. And when we start having like this, the team working as this, I am not reviewing someone code. I'm like reviewing the team code. When we start having something like this, I found the best integrations for PRs and code quality that I had in my career.
Fair enough. Thank you, Daniel. I just realized that my previous question about the PR reviews was perceived wrongly. It's not about I'm against friends. What I'm against is blind PR review because of the friendship, right? Hence, the question was, if you have a default rule of 2 PR reviewers and you have a big team, usually the internal team will not go outside to ask for PR review, right? Unless you touch other team components. So the question was rather, how would you tackle this kind of situation normally, right? Because, I mean, if you work in a huge setup, there's a very low chance you will be able to see it if it's not your direct team, right? Let's say you are head of engineering or, I don't know, director of engineering, and you have like 10 teams and you have like 100 people. How would you try to understand if the problem is there? What would be the red flags which will trigger you off normally? Because I work with the concept of 1 or 2 teams. That's why for me it's easy to understand if this situation happens, because I have one-on-ones and I have team meetings and I can spot it myself. But what if you go higher with a bigger organization? How would you spot that?
In the end, is one team, and the trigger is like, let's say, there is this team of platform A, platform B, platform. We are in a bigger team. Like the company is the team, customer first, and the trigger is basically the amount of rework.
By rework, you would mean when you need to refactor something, or you need to rewrite the feature because it's not behaving correctly?
Buggy, or let's say if I get your code when I'm manufacturing something, like let's say you developed something last week, I'm taking a task from like a base that inherited from this task, and I need to put a lot of work there to review what has been done. There is a process that needs to be improved. Of course, if the code is like 2 years, 5 years old, that's completely fine. And the second thing is the amount of, and then like some KPIs measuring bugs, for example, bugs amount. Like I create a ticket, I deploy a PR, for example, and out of this PR, 5 new bugs. Okay, another trigger. Like we need to review our process because we are not reviewing properly. Or if it goes to, let's say, goes to QA, and then it returns again because too many bugs, for example. Again, we are not testing enough as a team, the development team is not giving the proper quality check over the development.
Well, really nice take. Now I really want to go to the testing strategies, but probably for the next time, because I'm so keen to understand how would you approach testing in general. But that was very good answer. Thank you. I don't have questions around that anymore.
Excellent, but perhaps we can save that for the part 2. That kind of leads me quite organically onto my next question. Surrounding, of course, kind of the topic we just mentioned, what kind of accountability measures would you guys look to implement within your teams, obviously to ensure the kind of quality, etc., and maybe improve productivity, etc. So I suppose, what accountability measures would you guys implement within your kind of team and organization structure?
Ownership.
Yeah.
Ownership. I like when the team, not as an individual, is not the one ownership, but the team ownership. I like when the team takes the ownership of the work they are doing. And complementing to your question, I usually encourage Vad that when reviewing a ticket, one must test the work that has been developed. This is what I usually encourage. So like a clone the ticket, and again, complementing with Graeme question is an accountability, because we are testing not because of a person, we are testing because this like that code kind of like belongs to the team. If it fails, is the entire team, is the entire company failing, it's not one person.
So remaining obviously kind of objective. And Dragan, I'd love to hear your viewpoint here.
So from my standing point of view, like it's to give them like a responsibility. It's a tricky one, right? When to start, how to give them, like when to give them. As Daniel already mentioned, right? It's team responsibility, but still. Also, you need to give to some person in the team to do something like, and to be able to somehow like benefit for whole team, right? And that's I'm trying to see like who can do what to improve the quality of the team. Like then, for instance, like someone found something that it can be improved. I discussed with him about that one, and I told him, hey, write the technical improvement task yourself. Write with your words. What would you do that? And then the next sprint you will pick up that one. And then he is very happy that he can do that one and improve the code, help, and somehow also to have fun, to be honest, right? Because it's all technical improvements are fun, right? He wants to improve that one. So I'm putting them like in that way. If you can help in this way and having fun, it will be very valuable for the whole team, right? And they're always trying to figure out how they can improve, because they know that I will give them to do that one, and they don't see that as some obligation to do because I said them to do that one because it's good and they don't get it. I'm trying to that they understand, they see it and they do it, and then whole team will say thank you. It was really helpful to us because you speed up test, you fix the CI/CD or something like that. So I'm always telling them, yes, I'm very responsible for this team, but you are also responsible for this one. You want to help. And you can help and you will be responsible, right? Just do it. Just do it. And I always encourage them to do that with my mentorship, because that's also super important. So what I ask from them, from time to time to just keep me in the sync. Like that, someone will say it's reporting. It's not reporting. I see bigger picture. And if you want to learn, I will just tell you why we cannot go in this direction right now, or why we cannot do this one, or we can do even better, right? So I always tell them, that's a good idea, but think about this one. Come back with me with this. Or also, I like to give them spikes. Also very interesting to bring that responsibilities, right? And I give them spike to research about something, to come back with the result, and then he will grow, and then you can put technical tasks to solve that in some moment of time, right? Also, what I like to do, because we are a small team, sometimes like, and we don't have Scrum Master, maybe it's weird, but we don't have it. And then every sprint, it's another person Scrum Master. And also a lot of responsibility to them to understand how it's to go on that demo and to present something. And if you know that it will not work or work because you rely on your friend. So next time, when you are not Scrum Master, you know how you feel to be Scrum Master or present, if you will present, right? And then you will do it better. So I'm trying always to give them something that they participate in the team decision, but I always tell them, like, at the end, right, the difference between you and me, guys, everyone can suggest. Like, I'm always like, I can take responsibility, I can override, I can do this or that on the end of the day. So don't worry about that one. At the end of the day, if someone needs to be guilty for that one, that also like to say, it will be me. I can do always that. So people who watch this one, do one very easy thing. Like, if it's something it's wrong, take it on yourself. Like, you have enough credits. You are a technical person. You are technical lead. You did a lot for that company. Like it. And one thing, if you screw it, it will not happen anything. But if you point your finger to your people that you put them to be responsible and they screw that one, they will never get back and do it again. And then if even they do that, you said, I did it. I do that one. So, for instance, Vlad did something wrong. We go to the meeting and said, hey, because at the end of the day, I'm managing Vlad. So I'm also guilty for that one. I say, hey, it was my mistake. It was just misunderstanding between him and Vlad. I told him to do that one. Then I sit with Vlad one-on-one and we discuss it. If Vlad does everything very well, I go to the meeting and said, hey, all of this is done by Vlad. Because anyway, I have like that effect or a responsibility or a credits I will get later on as a leader. So that's what people see. I would say that like delayed credit leaders will get sooner or later. So always encourage your people to get credits, to be better, to take more responsibility. Even if they screw something, just take that on yourself. And that's how I see. And we go and we grow super fast. As I said, I have 5 people. For me, like in compare with the previous companies, like 20, 30 people work that we can do because everyone is responsible. But also that I mentioned to Vlad a few times, I needed almost now, it will be 1 year that I'm building this team. And we always have ups, downs. And the most important thing, I think I mentioned that always mentioning that continuous improvements, right? Always improve, see what you can do. But also, as I said, like it's a team game. Development, it's a team game these days. You don't have any more applications that one guy can do it. Like most of them, they are super complex. At least you need 2 front and 2 back end, right? At least 1 QA, 1 lead, or something like that, 1 DevOps in these days. That's a small team, right? And then everything depends on that team. If you don't put them enough responsibility, you will not have team. If you put them enough responsibility, believe me, 5, 6 people, it's more than enough, even for complex projects, right? That's how I see it. Like, so most of time depends of also culture, as Daniel said, top to bottom, to have really strong people as a leaders. But that's another topic, like what's the good leader? How would you build a good leader? Because we only talk about how to get better engineers, but also maybe one of topics that also another topic is how to develop good leaders. Because the biggest misconception, like that best developer will be the best leader. That's the biggest misconception ever. Doesn't mean anything if he is good developer that he will be good leader. And it's also a big problem that people putting the best technical people to lead something because they think they will do it easy. But as I said, another topic. So now think yourself how to develop your team and to give them more responsibility. Even they will screw something, do it. Just do it.
Excellent point there, Dragan, about building the trust of your kind of team members, I suppose. And Vadym, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, I agree with what Daniel and Dragan says, especially about accountability and ownership. So we also use a concept, like in my team, I try to run a concept of feature lead or topic owner. So every feature which has a business significance will have a person responsible for it, irrelevant of the platform. Let's say we have 2 engineers per each platform, so 1 engineer would be responsible for all platforms to be able to report, to be able to clarify specs, to be able to report the status updates. So not everyone needs to do it. But on top of that, what I like to do, which I think works a lot, is that create a business metrics dashboard for the team business domain, and then highlight to the engineers how their changes impacting the business directly. So they are much more involved, so they become a stakeholder of the changes they've done. And then sometimes you see a light in the eyes, and you think that that's how it works, because now they care. You know, it's not always the case, not for every person, not for every company, because it's impossible to motivate and encourage everyone. But try to do it and try to match whatever you do to the business creates an impact and ownership.
100%. And back over to you, Dragan. I see you raising your hand.
Yeah, that's a good one. As you said, like I also like to do that on over the feedbacks, right? And then how to also improve them. So we have also, it depends. Like if you join the company, you will have in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, right? If you are older employee, you will minimum have like on 6 months, right? So sometimes it can be early if I decide that I need to do something to correct you. And then we never put that as things that was not good. I always call that improvements. And I'm always putting them really good stuff and improvements, good stuff, improvements. And then I can explain them on the improvements that if they will do this one, how they will affect the company, like our speed, delivering, code quality, everything what I can put there. So also to like motivate them, to develop them, or to give them another responsibility, you can always do that over the feedbacks as well, as you mentioned, Vlad. If I understood you correctly, something about that was also. So that's also a very important thing, right? Feedbacks.
And yeah, over to you, Daniel, please.
Quick one, just one example about this accountability. So I joined this company in the past as a head of engineer, and basically we had 3 teams there. One team was the how they describe it, the problematic team, not delivering anything. And we had this kind of like this golden team. They were like, bam, superstars. This was this, and the third team that was like, yeah, we are doing our stuff here. So basically, this is the scenario that when I reached this company. I jumped in. This is what I would like to add. Of course, this could be improved. I jumped too much inside of this team, but at the same time, I was trying to exercise at the time, doing less. This was a kind of like my mindset of the time. Like as a leader, I was doing too much, and inspiring more. By working together with this technically problematic team, I actually realized that the problem was with the other team, the golden one, that was over-engineering. So basically, they were dependent on each other. Let's say a back-end and a front-end team, and the front-end team was the problematic one, and the back-end team was the golden one. When I start kind of like feeling the pain of the problematic, supposedly problematic team, I just realized that it was actually a problem of miscommunication. And at the time, I knew kind of like how to solve because of like experience and so on. But at the same time, I look at myself and like if I do something here, am I like giving them the opportunity to learn? Am I listening to their needs? Are them being heard? So basically, with those questions, I suggested them that we had a conversation meeting where I was basically listening. Like, okay, I'm here just to listen. I just organized the meeting actually, and I will take notes. I would like to hear from you all. In the end, was the first time we had a Scrum of Scrum meeting. Like the need of a Scrum of Scrum meeting. And this team raised their hands and said, Every time that we are developing something, you guys are already changing. So when we finish, you guys change it and we need to redo it. How can we solve? And every team member start raising, someone come and suggested, yeah, what if like in my previous company, when we had this problem, Scrum of Scrum was the solution, blah, blah, blah. They decided. Like this was like a big step, especially for my career, because it was not something that me as a manager telling them what to do, but encouraging them to find the solution. And with one-on-ones, I'm like I take one-on-one as a kind of like my super weapon, or the team super weapon. Through one-on-ones, hearing what they are looking for, and then giving suggestions, or like just kind of like fail fast, learn faster strategy. Like a try something, encouraging people. And this is what I getting back to your initial point, Graeme. Accountability is like I think the biggest accountability in a team is the manager itself. So it's like the team knowing, like, I can count on this guy. He will take the shots if necessary, is completely fine. But at the same time, I can count on him as well, that he'll come maybe with a little bit of angry face, saying like, guys, come on, let's move on. Can I help somehow?
Excellent. Thank you very much, Daniel. I can see both of you guys kind of nodding in agreement with Daniel's comments there. Now, regrettably, I must say, kind of running out of time, unfortunately. But definitely, it sounds as if we've got just more than enough topics to cover in part 2. I know Vadym wanted to cover, of course, kind of testing in the next roundtable. Now, Dragan brought up the topic of how can you actually be a good leader, or how can your leadership style be improved. So definitely kind of touch on that next time. But before we kind of wrap up, I just wondered, do you guys have any kind of final comments or closing statements you'd like to add?
It was fun. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Now, I'm sure everyone watching, the question on everyone's lips, what on earth is that jumper Graeme's wearing? Now, I must say, disclaimer, it's a Christmas jumper day over here in the office. So when we return for part 2 in January, you're probably glad to see that I won't be wearing such a hideous jumper. But either way, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure kind of speaking with you all. Now, if you want to catch this recording, it'll be live on our YouTube in just a matter of days, also on Spotify for an audio-only version. Finally, once again, thank you very much for attending, guys. Some great conversation here.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Vad. Thanks, Dragan. As usual, a great brainstorming. Graeme, thanks, mate. Looking forward for the next one.
Thank you,
100%.
It was a pleasure to be here. Same. Like, I cannot wait for the next one, because definitely we have many topics to discuss. We just opened 2-3 more, definitely, right? So
that's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole.
Yes. It's a rabbit hole.
Exactly. Looking forward to it, guys. In the meantime, have a fantastic kind of Christmas and New Year and things, and I'm looking forward to catching up soon.
You
Merry
too,
Christmas,
guys.
everyone. Happy New Year.
See you. Happy New Year.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.